do quite a bit is racial equity, racial literacy, capacity building, right, for leaders, staff, organizations, system redesign, and things of that nature. So with this in mind, I want to just kind of talk about some of the dynamics and racial animus that I see within organizations and racial harm and trauma that we experience and have to work through, you know, and then come back home to community and also have to work through, you know, and don't have safe spaces for us, right? And we like a good buzzword around a good safe space, but in reality, there are very few safe spaces for us. And so what we have to do is kind of raise our vibration and understand our identity, as Dr. Awadola was talking about, and begin to heal from the inside out. Now, what I'm going to talk about is just a couple of concepts that I've been working out around the ego, and I hope it lands for you. That is the intention that I set today. I'm going to start with this quote, okay? So, unless you learn to face your own shadows, you will continue to see them in others, because the world outside of you is only a reflection of the world inside of you. Now, I just want to share with you, when I quote white psychologists or white anybody, I just presuppose they ripped it off from us, okay? I do. So they basically giving us back what we gave them or what they took from us, okay? So I just want to say that. This is not me centering whiteness, because I don't center whiteness, right? It's learning. They've studied after studied after studied us, right? And we have been so traumatized that we've had to study them in silence. So here's the deal here. With the ego, right? Can you recognize when your ego's reality is out of balance, especially in conflict? Can you? Can you? Right? We spend a lot of time in conversation with each other. We've been socialized in a particular way. If you read the book, The Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz talks about domestication around these society four agreements, right? And how we've been socialized to kind of not be impeccable with our words, how to make assumptions, how to take everything personal, right? And not to do our best and show up. And so to better understand this, I'm going to get this definition up here as well. And then how might this be different for us when we're in conflict? This is the important part to understanding the healing, right? We have to be aware of what's out of balance, because we have normalized unhealthiness, lack of spirituality, right? It's out of balance. I had this young person say to me, I'm over 50. I'm not quite an elder, but I'm not the young person anymore. So I get that. She about 20-something years old. Just these old people, they don't respect us, but they demand respect from us. Live a little. Well, just live a little. It's what I say. Just live a little. When I was your age, we would never be on buses cussing in front of older people. That's not something we did. And the fact that you normalize that and think that's okay, you know, says that we have more work to do. I'm not going to judge you, because the generation before that allowed that. Okay? So we have to understand how to go deeper. And it's so, again, we're conditioned to respond in a certain way that divides us. So we have to be aware of where the ego is out of balance and where we are. Okay. I am not a psychologist. My graduate work is organizational development in psychology, but I play one on TV. That's what I always like to say, okay? I've been to enough therapy. I've sat in enough sessions. I've had enough conversations and shadow work with Dr. Awadola that I feel like I know a little something about this. So, so the Freudian, I'm going to say that right now. We're going to start operationalizing that. Analysis of the ego is these three components, right? Meaning the three components are making up the human personality. So when you break it down, you probably have heard of the id, the superego, and the ego. So the id represents our primal instinctual desires. As Brother DeReef was saying, you know, this is great information, and it applies to them, not us. Right? So I'm going to put that in perspective, because that's what really blew me away, right? So it's, you know, we're building off of work. So in terms of they basically stole our work and, you know, gave it back to us, and now we're kind of unpacking it and unlearning it. Okay, and so it operates the pleasure principle. So for example, kind of the Maslow hierarchy of needs, hungry infants or being hungry and things of that nature. The superego acts out of moral conscience. So it develops through identification with parental figures or societal norms. So it strives for morality and ethical balance, right? So that's what the superego does. But then when we get to the ego, it's trying to balance the reality of the demands of desires, so the id and the superego. When it cannot mediate these conflicting forces, we get all kind of behavior, okay? What do you think is the most popular emotion expressed when you're out of balance? Okay. And does anger in itself describe what's really going on inside of you? Okay, right? How often is it acceptable? And I'm gonna go into gender roles. When a man is upset and angry, will he say to you, "You hurt my feelings"? He doesn't say that, no. It comes out in everything else, right? And they say a woman, if she's quiet, you know, let her nag you. That's what they tell you in relationships. So I'm giving relationship advice too. So if she's upset, you better take that fussing and cussing, right? Let her nag you, because if she stopped talking to you, you got real problems. You got real problems, right? But in all of that fussing and cussing, right, whatever she's doing, she's not gonna really say, "You hurt my feelings." She might say, "I'm hurt." Right? But she's not going to kind of unpack it because we're not feeling safe enough to do that always. So the ego comes in, and we get into this conflict, and it becomes about winning the argument, right? Outdoing one another, right? So this was the activity I kind of resurrected on the fly, is that, again, I work in HR, and so I'm not going to ask you to fill in this, but I thought this would be fun to introduce. It's that, what if there was a position, and there is a role in conflict, we don't see it, for a senior ego coordinator specialist? Right? We see these people in the workplace. Come on. Mama talked about narcissists. Narcissists go home to somebody, okay? And if they're narcissists at home, they're narcissists in the workplace too, okay? So the goal of this role is to prevent resolution, okay, block healing, awakenings, and most important, prevent collaborative relationships. Okay, so in order to be successful at this role, now we've seen it, we've done it. So the whole idea here is to bring awareness of, can you understand the ego when it's out of balance? This is what I'm trying to bring to you. So the minimum qualifications for this role: focus on the other's behavior. Okay, blame and deflect, take no accountability. It's never you. When they go low, go lower. You must be petty. Of everything. You got to be petty about everything, okay? And if you have the opportunity and they say something to you, you talk about their mama. Okay? Just don't focus on the real issue, okay? Justify unhealthy behavior. Create new realities on the fly and don't represent the account of events, right? Go to Christmas if y'all talking about something that just happened in spring, right? Just go back, just throw them all off whack, right? Ensure the issue is never fully discussed. You need to have experience doing this. Deflect and gaslight, you gotta build muscle around this. Manipulate. Do a smear campaign. Bring some other people in. Never talk to the person directly about the conflict, but talk around them to everybody else, okay? That's real important here for this position. The focus on winning. Be self-centered and selfish. It is all about you. Make it about you. It's never about their feelings. Yours are the most important. You have to be skilled at dragging others down the rabbit hole, not related to the issue, okay? And then there's other qualifications for this role that we probably can think of, but I thought this would be just really fun to think about, because with the ego, the acronym I put together is that when that's present, we're edging growth out. And we're not healing. When I think about these behaviors here, we have to understand this. Why do we do it? We've been conditioned to. Multi-generational, right? This umbrella of internalized racial oppression is real, okay? Inferiority, a reinforced negative self-image. Sometimes when you're not used to good stuff, you have to have confirming bias to find bad stuff. So even if you're in a good relationship, I have to sabotage it when good things happen, because I'm gonna reinforce this over here, and I'm gonna seek out people that's gonna help me reinforce that. Eagles do not fly with buzzards for a reason. Okay, now, we talk about superiority, but again, that's unearned, reinforced positive self-image, and that talks about those folks that have been assigned white. You know, white doesn't exist, black doesn't exist, but we know that that happened in 1691 through legislation. When we talk about the healing process, we have to understand this historical timeline. We're not gonna turn this all back in the day. We've been doing this since been doing this. Right? I'm just saying. But we have to be willing. But you have to be able to also recognize when the ego is operating, right? They like to use chattel slavery because, you know, you co-opt all of the equity language and DEIB and all, you know, so they do all of this, everything performative so we don't get to the real issue and start the real work. But I heard this phrase at the Yale thing for our great-grandfather, human trafficking. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. Chattel slavery still makes it an inanimate object. We're people. It was human trafficking. So if you leave with something today, begin to correct people about what was happening, right? Now, I had to put Dr. Maya Angelou in there because people may forget what you said or did, but will not forget how you made them feel, right? That's real important. So as the ego is coming up in conversation, one strategy is to ask yourself how you're feeling, but what is happening right now in these dynamics? How am I contributing? That's where the healing is. It is the what happened to me, right? But can you recognize it in the moment? And we don't always do that. So that's really kind of the challenge today, is that we've learned, we were socialized to learn, we were socialized to operate in a certain way, and we don't even know that we've been conditioned to respond in this way. We're unclear. We can't even, when you try to bring goodness to somebody and kind of raise their vibration, they'll cuss you out. They will. They just, you know, and we just, when we were first introduced. So resist judging. So when they say meet people where they're at, right, it is part of the kindness for folks. You're just dropping seeds at that point. I close with this. Because of our conditioning, we've been really great at creating harm, but we struggle with creating harmony. And that is where we need to emphasize, because when we have harmony, we have balance. We can recognize peace, right? Cooperation with each other and collaboration. Like the main thing on the plantation was to not come together, to make sure we don't come together. All of the strategies around legislation is to divide people. We different. You white, I'm black. I'm better, you're worse, right? All of that is whiteness. Competition, scarcity, fear, all of those things to avoid the healing work. We're gonna do everything but avoid healing. You know, you ever ask a child to clean their room? And they do everything but clean their room. They bring you papers. Mama, look at this. You see this right here, this right here? Oh, I'm hungry. I need a nap. Can we go here? They're gonna do everything but clean that room, right? But you have to be skilled at holding yourself accountable to cleaning your inside room. And when you change, you attract other folks to change, right? You can't make anybody else change, and I've tried it. Okay, so that's my testimony. That's my time. Thank you.